The 11 most intimidating physiques of classic Hollywood. What if the strongest bodies on screen weren't built in 6 months, but over a lifetime of mines, barracks, and circus rigs? Before green screens, some men didn't learn toughness. They carried it in their hands, lungs, and backs. No wire work, no painted-on abs, just calluses. And a camera that caught everything. We're rolling back to when studios wanted tuxedos, yet audiences kept buying tickets for something harder. Men who could swing a sword because they'd swung a pickaxe, run hills because they'd run drills. These weren't transformations, they were lives filmed. Tonight, we count down the 11 most intimidating physiques of classic Hollywood. Olympic lungs, coal mine shoulders, trapeze timing, quiet power you could feel from the back row. Lock in your guess for number 1 now. If muscle can bluff, discipline can't. Number 1, Robert Ryan, the thinking fighter. What makes a screen tough guy believable? Not brute force, but control. Robert Ryan had it in his hands, his feet, and his eyes. He wasn't just acting like a boxer, he moved like one. Short steps, tight guard, shoulders that never wasted motion. You could feel the ring IQ every time he squared up. Before movie sets gave actors endless takes, Ryan trained for the take that mattered. College boxing tuned his timing. Military discipline hardened his pace. In the ring scenes that made his name, he didn't throw big, sloppy haymakers for applause. He slipped, countered, and turned the angle like a man who knew the bell was about to ring. That's why those sequences still feel real. They breathe, they sweat. He carried that same economy into every role. No extra muscle, no gym vanity. Just a frame built to last a 12-round night and a face that told you he'd already gone 15. When he took a punch on screen, you saw years of road work behind the ribs and jump rope stamina in his legs. When he threw one back, it landed with the kind of weight you can't fake. If you watched him first run, you remember when fighters trained to outthink you as much as outpunch you. Ryan brought that to Hollywood. He proved that intimidation isn't only about size, it's about composure. It's about a man who never looks surprised when trouble shows up. Number 2, Rock Hudson. Tall, quiet power. Some men don't have to flex. They just walk into the frame and the room straightens up. Rock Hudson was that kind of strong. 6'4", broad across the doorway, shoulders that made a sport coat look like armor. No strut, no noise, just a steady center of gravity that gave every scene weight. He wasn't a gym show-off. He was a make-the-day professional. Long hours in the saddle for giant, clean lifts, and close-quarters fight beats that stayed tidy because he did the homework. Directors trusted him with the physical stuff because he didn't waste motion. You never saw him acting tough. You saw a man who could carry you out of a muddy ditch and still hit his line on the next breath. Older audiences remember that presence. The slow turn of the head, the calm walk forward. It's the kind of intimidation that doesn't bark. It settles you with the thought, if it comes to it, he'll handle it. That's why the romances landed and the westerns felt solid. The frame sold the promise, dependable strength, no dramatics. Number 3, John Wayne, ranch-bred endurance. Not every kind of strength shows up under a spotlight. John Wayne's lived in his stride. Years of saddles, dust, and long chutes put a slow, steady weight in his gait. The type of strength that comes from getting the job done, not counting reps. You could see it in the way he mounted a horse. One clean move, no fuss. You could feel it when he lifted a partner out of the dirt. Sure hands, no wobble. He wasn't built for poses, he was built for miles. The desert heat, the heavy gear, the endless retakes, Wayne took it like another day's work. That's why those big country frames in the Searchers land so hard. He doesn't race to the action, he carries the action with him. The shoulders tell you he's hauled tack and rifles. The breath tells you he can stay in the saddle till sundown and still have enough for one more scene. Older viewers remember that reliability. He didn't need to prove anything with a flex. He proved it by showing up, hitting the mark, and outlasting everyone. Intimidation for Wayne wasn't loud. It was a quiet promise. If trouble starts, he'll be there at the end of it. Number 4, Errol Flynn, the athletic swordsman. Some men look strong standing still. Flynn looked strongest in motion. Footwork like a fencer, timing like a boxer, and springs in his legs that made castle walls feel like playgrounds. He didn't wave a blade, he conducted with it. Wrists loose, shoulders relaxed, feet always in the right place, a beat before yours. That's why the duels still thrill. The tempo shifts, the sudden lunges, the effortless recoveries. He sold danger as rhythm. You could tell he drilled the steps until they lived in his bones. Watch the parries and counters. Small, clean, efficient, no wasted reach, no clumsy clangs. He turned choreography into confidence and confidence into intimidation. When he smiled before a duel, it wasn't a smirk. It was a warning. He already knew the last move. Older eyes remember how light he was on the ropes and how sure he was on the landings. That balance, hips under, shoulders square, blade quiet until it wasn't, made the hero feel inevitable. Flynn proved that speed can be scarier than size and that a well-placed step beats a heavy foot every time. Number 5, Anthony Quinn. Earthy, explosive strength. Some actors pose. Quinn erupted. Shoulders like stone, hands that looked built to lift more than props, and a center of gravity that never wavered. He didn't need a choreographed snarl to sell force. You felt it in the way he took space, planted his feet, and made the room answer to him. His power came wrapped in movement. The dance in Zorba, the Greek, isn't a flourish, it's a manifesto. Balance, breath, and a body that can shift from joy to dominance in a heartbeat. Brawls landed because he didn't rush them. He absorbed, advanced, and then crowded the frame until there was nowhere left to stand but behind him. The forearms told you he'd done hard work. The eyes told you he wasn't about to back up from it. Older viewers remember that heat. How Quinn made even a simple walk feel like a push forward. He didn't cut a figure for gym posters. He carried the weight of men who'd hauled sacks, swung tools, and learned to finish what they started. That's why he could play kings and laborers with the same authority. The body convinced you before the dialogue did. Number 6, Lee Marvin. War-forged efficiency. Some strength is loud. His was mission quiet. Lee Marvin moved like a man who'd learned the hard rule of combat. Waste nothing. Long frame, narrow hips, shoulders set like a rucksack was still there. He didn't swing wide, he cut straight. The walk alone, measured, deliberate, told you he'd spent time where speed and noise get you hurt. That's why his action beats feel different in The Dirty Dozen and Point Blank. He doesn't mug for the camera or wind up for hero shots. He advances, plants, and delivers. One step, one strike, one finish. You can almost see the field drills in the posture and the breath control in the pauses. It reads as real because he never tries to look tough. He moves like he's done this before and expects to again. Older viewers remember that Marine backbone. The quiet authority, the economy of motion, the way he kept his center under pressure. Marvin's intimidation didn't come from size or snarl. It came from knowing he could end a problem and not needing to announce it. Number 7, Charles Bronson. Miner's grit. Granite presence. Some physiques look carved. His looked quarried. Charles Bronson carried coal dust toughness in a compact frame. Thick wrists, slab forearms, shoulders that sat forward like a man used to pushing weight through narrow tunnels. He didn't swagger, he advanced. One step, then another, like the job wasn't finished yet. That's why his fights land differently. In hard times, the bare-knuckle beats don't play like choreography. They thud like weather. Short punches, no wind-up, a guard that wastes nothing. When he takes a shot, he doesn't flail. He tightens, resets, and goes right back to work. You feel the years of labor in the way he absorbs pressure and answers with something simple and final. Older viewers remember that face. Weathered, unreadable, half a warning by itself. Bronson made intimidation look effortless because he never tried to sell it. He wore it the way men wear fatigue and grit. The message was plain. This isn't style. This is survival. Number 8, Clint Walker, the gentle giant. Some men look big on camera. Clint Walker made the camera look small. 6'6", shoulders like a barn door, hands that could lift a co-star without turning it into a gag. Yet he moved with a calm that read as confidence, not threat. Quiet voice, steady gaze, a center of gravity you couldn't shake. On Cheyenne, he did the kind of work that tells you what's real. Long days in the saddle, lifts that weren't faked, brawls that needed a man who could take a wall and make it look like a bad idea. The trick wasn't rage, it was control. He planted those big feet, set the hips, and the rest of the scene bent around him. When he picked someone up, it wasn't showboating, it was logistics. The frame said, "This is getting done." And then it was. Older viewers remember how Walker filled the screen without rushing it. He didn't have to swing wild or roar to sell dominance. He just stepped into the doorway and the story adjusted. That's intimidation by scale and composure, the kind you measure by how fast a room goes quiet. Number 9, Woody Strode. Trailblazing power. Some bodies change a scene. His changed the room. Woody Strode walked on with a sculpted calm, broad chest, etched arms, that long, effortless stride, and the air shifted. He didn't crowd the frame, he clarified it. You saw discipline first, then strength. It wasn't noisy, it was undeniable. Years of top-flight athletics gave him that look and that engine. The shoulders came from real training, the posture from repetition, the focus from competition. In the arena duel of Spartacus, he doesn't posture or plead. He stands taller, breath steady, muscles set like he's been here before, and he had, in 100 practices you'll never see. When the fight begins, his movements stay clean and economical, the kind of economy that tells you he respects the weapon and the moment. It reads as dignity under pressure, and that's rarer than brute force. Older viewers remember how he carried himself in every role with a quiet authority that made even the loudest characters around him feel smaller. He didn't have to push emotion, he grounded it. He didn't have to announce danger, he embodied it. That's why the camera loved the lines of his back and the discipline in his jaw. He made strength beautiful without softening it. And he opened doors simply by being unmistakably excellent when the frame was not built for him. Number 10. Kirk Douglas. Gladiator Drive. Some physiques intimidate by size. Kirk Douglas intimidated by will. You could see it in the shoulders, corded, restless, and in that forward-leaning stride that said he was already halfway into the fight. He didn't wait for the moment to arrive. He dragged it to him. On screen, the muscles look wiry, built for speed and punishment, not mirrors. In the close-ups, the eyes do the heavy lifting. Hard focus, jaw set, breath measured like a man counting rounds. Spartacus is the proof. The sword drills aren't pretty. They're sharp. The shield work is tight to the ribs, the footwork short and mean, the kind you learn when a misstep gets you hurt. He sells fatigue without faking it, then bites through it the way only a stubborn athlete can. You can feel the rehearsal miles in his lungs, the repetition in his shoulders. The strikes land because the body behind them believes in finishing once cleanly. Older viewers remember the intensity that never cooled. Douglas didn't posture as a strong man. He fought like a worker, a gym rat of the craft who showed up early and stayed late until the scene had a pulse. That's why the close quarter stuff reads so real. He keeps the elbows in, guards the line, and refuses to give an inch. Intimidation for Douglas was simple math. He'd outlast you, and he'd make sure you knew it. Number 11, Steve Reeves, The Blueprint. Some physiques impress. His created a genre. Steve Reeves didn't need careful lighting or clever edits. He stepped into a frame and made myth look practical. Shoulder caps like sculpture, a waist that vanished under a ribcage built for breath and power, arms that read as function first. He wasn't posing as a demigod. He was showing you what disciplined training could carve from a determined life. The intimidation wasn't volume, it was harmony. Symmetry that said every muscle had a job. Posture that never slumped. Movement that stayed crisp even under armor and heat. In Hercules and Hercules Unchained, the chariot pulls and pillar heaves feel less like tricks and more like rehearsal. Hips set, lats locked, breath braced on the beat. He handled swords as extensions of his balance and made heavy props look like problems he'd already solved. You believed the strength because the body spoke a language the camera couldn't fake. Timing, control, and calm. Older viewers remember the ripple effect. Boys left matinees wanting barbells. Directors greenlit epics for the body as much as the script. Future champions traced the spark back to one silhouette in sandals. Reeves proved that a leading man could be beautiful without softness and powerful without clumsiness. Classical lines poured into modern motion. That's why he sits at the 1. He didn't just raise a bar, he set the proportions for everything that followed. Take away the trainers, the CGI, the quick cuts, and what's left is the kind of strength you recognize from real life. Reeves turned symmetry into myth. Park proved mass could move. Douglas showed how will outlasts pain. Strode made power dignified. Lancaster flew. Walker steadied the frame. Bronson absorbed then answered. Connery hid iron under a tux. Weissmuller and Crabbe brought Olympic engines to Saturday matinees. Hudson, Quinn, Palance, Flynn, Wayne, Marvin, Ryan. Each a different language of intimidation, all spoken fluently on film. If you grew up with these faces, you remember the feeling. The theater went quiet when certain men stepped into the light, not because they shouted, but because they didn't need to. That's the test that still holds. Does the body make the story believable? Which physique made you sit up straighter back then? And which one still does today? Tell me your pick and who we should add in the next countdown.